devastating loss to Georgia Tech, where they made significant coaching errors. But Miami, with all of these changes, obviously looking to churn over this roster and upgrade the talent level.
Don't sleep on Rick Pitino. Listen, at the end of the day, the portal is the portal, Mike. Don't matter where you came from, it's where you're going and how much money can you get.
Inside the transfer portal, only on SportsGrid.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for, so I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships.
Mm-hmm.
So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage Late
Sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Hello and welcome to a Wednesday Live right here on the early line on SportsGrid and all across the SportsGrid network. That includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination to consume everything all across the grid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. We are here together for the next 3 hours on this Wednesday to go all around the sports landscape. The conference finals round in the NBA postseason beginning last night in a big way in Boston. Late game heroics, a double bang for Jaylen Brown, an overtime between the Celtics and the Pacers. We recap everything from game number 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals before game number 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Speaking of the conference finals, they begin tonight on the ice in the Stanley Cup playoffs as well. Daily grind around Major League Baseball and some football conversations as the NFL has reported for OTAs. All of that and more, DRS, here until 11 a.m. Eastern.
Late May, the place to be right here on the SportsGrid network. That is for sure. And last night, if you were watching that Pacers-Celtics game going like, oh boy, looks like we got a legitimate chance to have a 7-game series, and we might have that. You just can't turn the basketball over, Ben, 20-plus times in a game on the road and expect to come away with a victory and turning the basketball over in the biggest moments. But yesterday, saw some great things also on the diamond, a lot of home runs going out. The Phillies won another baseball game yesterday against the world champions. We'll see what happens today, but we got a long way to go, Ben, over the next 3 hours.
In MLB best, 35 victories for those Fightins, and there's no better pitcher in MLB this year than one Ranger Suarez. But we'll get to Major League Baseball in just a moment. A thriller last night inside TD Garden in the opening game of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Celtics and the Pacers. But the odds makers did not expect a thriller. In fact, they thought it would be very easy for the C's. The Celtics close as a double-digit 10-point favorite with a pregame total of 222. That sky's over because of overtime. And it came down to the final 10 seconds in the fourth quarter after a bad inbounds pass from Andrew Nembhard for Indiana, with the Pacers up 3, 117-114. Rick Carlisle refuses to foul, up 3. And Jaylen Brown makes him pay, hitting a corner 3 to send the game to OT, 117 all with just 6 ticks remaining in regulation. And then it was the other Jay, Jason Tatum, scoring 10 of his team-high 36 points in the extra session as the Celtics prevail in overtime in game number 1, 133-128.
Exciting all the way through. We told you yesterday, we like the over in this game. We like the Boston Celtics team total over. We thought Jason Tatum would have a big night. We thought Al Horford would play a lot of minutes and have a lot of shooting opportunities, and he did. It was a fun game to watch all the way through, but if you are the Indiana Pacers waking up this morning knowing you should be up 1-0 in this series with a legitimate chance to win game number 2 where the Boston Celtics have struggled for the first 2 rounds and then head back to Indiana up 2-0, that's a tough pill to swallow because you blew that game down the stretch. But look, great teams take advantage of other teams' mistakes. The Boston Celtics did that. They now lead the series 1-0, but my goodness, Pacers, you threw the kitchen sink at Boston and you should have won, and you didn't.
Indiana down by 15 late in the third quarter. The Celtics got off to a 12-0 start to begin the game right out of the gates inside TD Garden. And Indiana did fight its way back only to cough it up at the end quite literally. Rick Carlisle, foul when you're up 3 on the road, trying to steal game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Much more discussion coming your way in our next segment. Some news in the ECF outside of the opening game. We knew Kristaps Porzingis had been ruled out for games 1 and 2. Reports yesterday, though, DRS saying KP can return as early as game 4. Big news for Boston to win the East. And then also, if they do that, advancing to the NBA Finals with a healthy Porzingis.
Yeah, it'll certainly help out, but also just goes to show you. So many times we just talk about devastating injuries like ACLs and how long they keep you out. Now, granted, calf injuries and hamstrings don't keep you out that long, but every time we hear like, oh, he strained his calf, he'll be back in a game or 2. We haven't seen Porzingis in weeks, and now we're talking about maybe getting back in game number 4, but that'll be a big boost as long as, again, the Celtics are handling their business.
Around Major League Baseball we go. A total of 11 and a hook at Wrigley yesterday because the winds were blowing out. But DRS said, hey, I still think the pitching performances keep us under between the Cubs and the Braves. We even went to 10 innings, and the total still stayed under. 4-3, the Cubbies win on a walk-off infield single. The game-winning RBI off the bat of Nico Horner as the Cubs take the opener of their midweek set against Atlanta 4-3.
Yeah, there's a couple games last night that we looked at and said, man, they are perfect scenarios for a lot of runs to be scored, but very good pitchers on the mound. One of those games was in Philadelphia, but the main one, 20-mile-an-hour winds blowing out in Wrigley, that should be an automatic over. We had 2 really good pitching performances in that game. Just what happens here, my goodness. Here we go. Braves, uh-oh.
Atlanta has now dropped 5 of their last 6. They trail the Philadelphia Phillies by a full 6 games in the National League East. A walk-off in extras in Chicago. The same story in Houston after a huge night for Kyle Tucker. 2 home runs, leads all of Major League Baseball this season. The Astros rally to force extras, and in extras, an RBI single from Pena delivers the victory for the Stros. It's been a tough start this week over the Los Angeles Angels from Anaheim, but it's a victory for the Stros, 6-5.
A lot of home runs in that game, and rightfully small ballpark there. Pitchers that were hittable, and you're right, Kyle Tucker, 2 for 4 yesterday, 2 more home runs, 293 on the season. Now, Tuve took a collar here, Ben, to lead off for 0 for 5, but still hitting 296. This lineup is starting to hit like we thought they would. They just need the pitching to come around a little bit here. Still under 500, but again, the key takeaway, nobody's running away with the AL West, and that's going to help the Astros.
17 home runs for Kyle Tucker, 36 ribbies as well. Those 17 long balls, the best in all of Major League Baseball. He certainly helped out on Dinger Tuesday on the FanDuel Sportsbook, as did Bryce Harper in Philadelphia, as did Alec Boehm. Not maybe for Dinger Tuesday, but he still has 44 RBIs, tied for the most in all of the majors. But there is no better pitcher right now in MLB than Ranger Suarez. He has won his last 9 starts. He is off this season to a 9-0 start with a 1.36 ERA, second best in MLB. In Philadelphia, speaking of best, the best record in all of the bigs, the most wins, 35. A 5-2 victory yesterday at home over the reigning World Series champs, the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, Rangers Suarez was absolutely incredible. And as you said, 9-0 in the season, a 1.36 ERA. The Phillies have two pitchers doing a little bit more old school, Aaron Nola, Ranger Suarez. They don't need to throw 97, 98, 99 and paint the black. They're just crafty pitchers here, and you allow them to get complete games, which you saw at Nola the past couple starts, and also Ranger Suarez going 7 innings, but still being allowed to throw 108 pitches. This starting staff is tremendous, and the Phillies 35-14 after knocking off the Texas Rangers, who now fall a game below 500.
A career best 10 Ks for Ranger Suarez. He is the first pitcher since 1966 to have a 9-0 record in his first 10 starts with a sub-150 ERA. He is delivering right now for the Phils. WNBA scores from last night, a triple header, as Donnie knows very well. It is difficult to walk into the Michelob Ultra Arena and come away with a win over the two-time reigning champs, the Las Vegas Aces. But that's what the Phoenix Mercury did last night, winning by double digits as a 13.5-point dog, 98-88.
Look at that, 10 points. Look, imagine if you reversed that spread here and took the juicy money line. Maybe -5.5, -6.5 on the Mercury. Whoever did that, congratulations. But that's a pretty good upset yesterday. WNBA season just getting underway, 3 games into it.
Make sure you pay attention to Kalia Copper for Phoenix. 37 last night after a career-high 38 over the weekend for the Mercury. More NBA news around the association. Victor Wembanyama, first-team all-defense in the NBA, becoming the first-ever rookie to make the first-team all-defense. A lot of bigs on the first team. The guards made it to the second team. We go around the Eastern Conference Finals. Game number 1 in Boston. Next.
A surprise winner on the PGA Tour. Taylor Pendrith ends up winning his first PGA Tour win.
He was pretty darn lucky to win. Ben Coles should have won that tournament. Also seeking his first PGA Tour victory, he went into the 18th hole, the easiest hole on the golf course, with a one-shot lead, and he was there in 2, just less than 30 feet from the cup.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
Do Leafs fans stop watching hockey now, or do they root for other Canadian teams, Cam?
No, I'm not a proponent of that, and it's actually kind of bothered me that, like, all the people in Toronto are kind of like, oh, now I'm going to cheer for the Oilers. Like, why? What was your affiliation with the Oilers? Like, Canucks still exist. Like, I don't lose automatically and say, yeah, I'm going to cheer for the Ottawa Senators because they're Canadian. No, I cheer for my bets.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
A lot of books, and outside of the New York area, the Canes are actually favored in Game 1 of this series. I'm seeing it right now. I'm looking. I see a -115 Canes, Rangers -105.
I like the 6 and 7 games prop, like I took with Boston, Toronto, which we now know is going to cash. I think it's got a chance to go the distance. It's going to be a long, tough, close series.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Cam Rising stuff last year with Utah, 3 months of pretending he was questionable with a torn ACL, ridiculous.
It's a lot of gray right now when it comes to this stuff, and we really are. When people say we're in like the second or third inning of sports betting, that's why I agree, because there's so many of those situations that are very, very difficult to explain to a novice.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
What a Game 1 it was last night of the Eastern Conference Finals. Inside TD Garden in Boston, the Celtics hosting the Indiana Pacers. And yesterday, as we previewed the game, DRS, our coach, JY James Young, did say maybe Indiana carries over the momentum from a Game 7 victory on the road inside Madison Square Garden to the other garden in Beantown and could be live to steal one. but the odds makers did not agree. 10-point number in favor of Boston, total of 222. The Celtics, in every one of their home games, make it number 7 in this postseason run last night, have been booked as at least a double-digit favorite, 13 points or greater prior to game number 1 last night. And from the very start, it seemed like the Celtics would make good on that large spread. They jump out to a 12-zip lead over Indiana, but the Pacers battle back. They keep it close. Then Boston starts to pull away again in the third quarter. They had as many as a 15-point lead late in the third before the Pacers rally once more. Having a lead, 117-114, under 10 seconds remaining in regulation. Then a costly inbounds pass from Andrew Nembhard goes off Pascal Siakam. So the Celtics have an opportunity, and Jaylen Brown takes advantage, drilling a corner three. We got the elusive double bang out of Mike Breen. It forces overtime at 117 all, and in OT, Boston prevails in game number 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals with a 133-128 victory. Yes, Indiana does cover as your double-digit dog, and a total of 222. Sky's way over, but it was over in regulation as well.
I got to tell you, we'll get to some of the player performances here, which I think we were pretty much spot on most of those. But the way this game ended, you take a look at just a rebound by Indiana. You get the foul call. Now, it's a shame they weren't in the bonus just yet under 2 minutes, because that would have went to the free throw line for 2 free throws. You make 1, the game is over. But you still had a side-out inbounds. How many times do we talk about this, Ben? Anybody growing up has played any, recreational basketball who had a coach. In those instances, you never want to throw the basketball backcourt. Now, granted, I understand they were in the backcourt, but hear me out on this, where you're going towards your own basket, which you saw Siakam do, knocks it out of bounds, which keeps it there. If you would have thrown the basketball across half court and it got deflected away, the clock is running, you could still set up your defense, and then you would have enough time to say, okay, by the time they cross half court, 6 seconds left, they pull up around 3, then is the time you foul, and you still were able to win that basketball game. It was a disastrous play call here, drawn up, which allowed that to happen and gave the Celtics the chance to shoot a 3-point shot from the quarter.
Yeah.
How simple. We're not even talking about hey, we had a tough execution play. Get the ball inbounds and you win the basketball game. They couldn't do that. And I couldn't understand the play call, and where it ended up was, let me just throw it to Siakam on the run, and he knocks it out of bounds himself. That was a disaster.
And Jaylen Brown was the one who caused the pass breakup, only to pay it off with that made corner three to force overtime at 117 apiece. And right before Andrew Nembhard tried to inbound the basketball, you heard from the game broadcast, the Pacers do have a timeout if things get a little bit dicey. They did not elect to take that timeout. And DRS, it's the age-old debate that you'll see on many sports talk shows throughout this day. When a basketball team is up 3, do they decide to foul on the defensive end of the floor? For the theatrics of it all, I'm against it. Let a team put up a buzzer beater or a game-tying shot to see if we get overtime, to see if we get a victory. But last night, Rick Carlisle elects to not foul. Pascal Siakam got close, backed off, and Jaylen Brown converts with that made corner three. What did you make of Rick Carlisle's decision for Indiana to not foul up 3 in the final 10 seconds?
I'm with you on that, but we always usually look at this in college basketball terms. I foul every single time, but particularly when you're at that point, Ben, where it's under 5 seconds, because typically you don't see the way that play was called out. It's usually the other team, Ben, inbounding the ball on their own baseline, dribbling all the way up court, running more time down, and the minute they cross over half court, you foul them. You don't even let them get into position. But where the Celtics were inbounding the basketball, they were already in position. So it's sort of tricky. And also, when we equate it to college basketball, to the pros, what don't we have in college basketball? The continuation foul. It's a little bit more dicey to foul in a 3-point shot because they're going to foul. So just make a shooting motion and they will count that as an attempt at a 3-point shot, and you shoot 3 threes from the free throw line. It was a ridiculously tough 3-point shot, but it is kind of interesting where I usually would foul, but I would have liked to see the clock 6 seconds, 5 seconds, 4 seconds, a little bit less. Then the game, for all intents and purposes, would be over. It was a great shot that Jaylen Brown hit, but I don't even look at that, Ben, as boy, you should have just fouled up 3. Call the timeout, inbound the ball, or even, Ben, worst case scenario, nobody's open. throw the basketball into the front court so they have to actually go get it and then dribble the length of the court and pull up a ridiculous running three-point shot, even if you don't foul there. Just a disastrous inbound play, which cost the Pacers the game.
In college hoops, completely agree. You also are not entirely sure who that free throw shooter is going to be, if he's even going to make two of them to keep the game close as you hope to extend. And in the NBA, you inbound from the front court, as DRS just said, not having to go the full length like you do in college basketball. So the Boston Celtics, who have had home floor advantage throughout this playoff run and would into the NBA Finals as well, it's been a key metric, Donnie, we have looked at. They are now 42-6 straight up inside TD Garden all season long, 25-21-2 against the spread, 5-2 straight up in playoff action. Now just 3-4 against the number, though, however, inside TD Garden. Pace was up last night in regulation as Indiana kept things close as a double-digit underdog. Over in 9 of 14 games now for the Pacers in this playoff run, but Indiana just 2-6 straight up away from Indianapolis.
Yeah, and again, we just get back to the point opening the show. You can't even say like, hey, it was a hard-fought loss that we have. We're going to be right in this series. It's a lot different of a perspective to look at that when you had the lead and should have won the basketball game. It wasn't a late three-point shot by the Pacers to draw within 5 points on the final. It was the fact that you should have won that game. You should have all that momentum moving forward, and now you have to sit back and say, what more can we do here? I don't know, execute your plays and don't turn the basketball over. But the one thing that was true last night, we got a lot of points. I'm expecting points in this series, which is great for prop betting, so I'm enjoying it.
We'll look at some of the player performances and now the updated series outlook after Boston holds on for a Game 1 win in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's next.
A surprise winner on the PGA Tour. Taylor Pendrith ends up winning his first PGA Tour win.
He was pretty darn lucky to win. Ben Coles should have won that tournament. Also seeking his first PGA Tour victory, he went into the 18th hole, the easiest hole on the golf course, with a one-shot lead, and he was there in two, just less than 30 feet from the cup.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
Do Leafs fans stop watching hockey now, or do they root for other Canadian teams, Cam?
No, I'm not a proponent of that, and it's actually kind of bothered me that, like, all the people in Toronto are kind of like, oh, now I'm going to cheer for the Oilers. Like, why? What was your affiliation with the Oilers? Like, Canucks still exist. Like, I don't lose automatically and say, yeah, you know, I'm going to cheer for the Ottawa Senators because of the Canadian. No, I cheer for my bats.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
A lot of books, and outside of the New York area, the Canes are actually favored in Game 1 of this series. I'm seeing it right now. I'm looking. I see a -115 Canes, Rangers -105.
I like the 6 and 7 games prop, like I took with Boston, Toronto, which we now know is going to cash. I think it's got a chance to go the distance. It's going to be a long, tough, close series.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Cam Rising stuff last year with Utah, 3 months of pretending he was questionable with a torn ACL, ridiculous.
It's a lot of gray right now when it comes to this stuff, and we really are. When people say we're in like the second or third inning of sports betting, that's why I agree, because there's so many of those situations that are very, very difficult to explain to a novice.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
In a game that goes to overtime to start the Eastern Conference Finals, you are going to see a lot of overs, certainly when the total sky's over 222. Boston wins and escapes maybe with a Game 1 victory in overtime, 133-128 over Indiana. And, Donnie, when you look at the prop board last night, a ton to like if you were betting overs. Jason Tatum, game high 36 points. He scored 10 in overtime as well. Jaylen Brown, 26. Drew Holiday, a season high 28 points that included playing 48 minutes in 4 converted threes. On the other side for Indiana, it's been the story for the Pacers all playoffs long, really all season long. They score. They're the best offense in all of the NBA, and they have 7 players averaging double digits in terms of their point output throughout the postseason. That was the case last night. Obi Toppin and TJ McConnell get into double figures off the bench. All 5 starters for Indiana into double figures as well, led by Tyrese Halliburton, who had 25. Pascal Siakam over his points prop of 20 and a hook with 24. Miles Turner, the big man, stepping out for 3 made threes. He had 23 last night as well.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Indiana's offense. You shoot 54% as a team, Ben, fresh off of a Game 7 exhausting series against the New York Knicks, and you step up against the rested Celtics with a good enough chance to win. And sometimes we take a look at it and you say, all right, unders might be a sharper play typically than overs because we always want to bet an over and cheer it on as long as it makes some sense. And even yesterday, take a look at the final score. Hey, man, you got it easily across the board, 133 to 128. Now, granted, you have the total in your back pocket at the end of regulation. But I went on the air multiple times yesterday and said my favorite wager is 115.5 on the over for the Boston Celtics as a team total. They had 114 before that three-point shot. And you might say, like, well, yeah, if they would have fouled at the end of the game, they would have made, no, they wouldn't have made 2 free throws. They would have made the first, which would game 115. Then they would have missed the second free throw, and who knows what would have happened there. So that was sort of a good. And also, I told you Jason Tatum, I really thought he was going to shoot 20-plus times, which he did and needed overtime. But also, his points prop there, 29.5. Where do you have, Ben? 26 at the end of regulation. That 3 ball doesn't go down. He doesn't hit his prop. So that great backboard that you have for overtime on overs worked out really well yesterday if you're betting anything in the way of points.
Overtime can relieve a lot of the sweats late in regulation. Both Aaron Nesmith and Andrew Nembhard, the role players perhaps in that starting 5, go over their points props of 9.5 for Nesmith, 10.5 for Nembhard as well. So, Donnie, entering this series, we all expected Boston to lay a dud somewhere. As we had seen in the opening 2 rounds for the Celtics, that generally came in game number 2 at home. Last night almost changes my thinking on how this series eventually plays out. As we look at the series outright price, Boston was a minus 1,200 favorite entering game number 1. After escaping with a game 1 victory, it's now minus 2,000. Indiana gave the Celtics an absolute test last night. So how does the outcome of this opening game with the Pacers forcing overtime on the road change your outlook for the Eastern Conference Finals overall?
It's a hard gauge on the Celtics. We know how good they were, Ben, during the regular season, but we keep telling ourselves, like, well, Miami Heat can't score, Cleveland can't score, so of course the Boston Celtics are going to win. Now, the one thing that Pacers don't do is play defense, but they can score. Now, here's the issue. What did we see in the previous 2 series? Game number 1 went to the Celtics. Game number 2, the Celtics lost. They go, okay, you got our attention now. Wipe the team off the court. The Celtics got to win, and I think they can say at the same time, it looks like the Pacers just got our attention. Like, we got to be real serious in this series. So I'm interested to see what happens in game number 2. I don't expect the same type of outcome here. I do expect the Boston Celtics to win game number 2, just like we expected them to win game number 3s in the first 2 rounds. Like, okay, guys, this team is really good. We got to put our best effort in to absolutely win, which hurts even more for the Pacers. You should have won that game. It's very rare that you recover from coulda, shoulda, woulda type games like they had. We'll see what they got in game number 2. But I do think it's a fun betting series because we're going to get game to game those points numbers there in that 220 range, which is great for prop betting. And also, we're not going to see those slow down performances. Great performance by the Pacers. He just didn't come away with anything. No moral victory, man. None.
No moral victory, and I also kind of go to the other edge of that coin, thinking it could be debilitating to be that close and to truly cough it up in the final 10 seconds of regulation. Initially, if you would have asked me how this series played out, I would have said Boston in 6. I think Indiana could win 2. Even though they were competitive last night in forced overtime, I now think it's in 5. I think the Celtics in 5 might be the best bet. I do think Indy gets one in Indianapolis. I'm just not so sure that last night makes me feel that this will be a tightly contested series. I think Boston got their dud out of the way very early, in fact, in game number 1. Around Major League Baseball we go. Up next here on the Early Line.
A surprise winner on the PGA Tour. Taylor Hendrick ends up winning his first PGA Tour win.
He was pretty darn lucky to win. Ben Coles should have won that tournament. Also seeking his first PGA Tour victory, he went into the 18th hole, the easiest hole on the golf course, with a one-shot lead, and he was there in 2, just less than 30 feet from the cup.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
Do Leafs fans stop watching hockey now, or do they root for other Canadian teams, Cam?
No, I'm not a proponent of that, and it's actually kind of bothered me that, like, all the people in Toronto are kind of like, oh, now I'm going to cheer for the Oilers. Like, why? What was your affiliation with the Oilers? Like, Canucks still exist. Like, I don't lose automatically and say, yeah, I'm going to cheer for the Ottawa Senators because they're Canadian. No, I cheer for my bad team.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
A lot of books, and outside of the New York area, the Canes are actually favored in game 1 of this series. I'm seeing it right now. I'm looking. I see a -115 Canes, Rangers -105.
I like the 6 and 7 games prop, like I took with Boston, Toronto, which we now know is going to cash. I think it's got a chance to go the distance. It's going to be a long, tough, close series.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Cam Rising stuff last year with Utah, 3 months of pretending he was questionable with a torn ACL, ridiculous.
It's a lot of gray right now when it comes to this stuff, and we really are. When people say we're in like the second or third inning of sports betting, that's why I agree, because there's so many of those situations that are very, very difficult to explain to a novice.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
A game last night at Wrigley Field that featured an over-under pregame of 11.5 because inside the friendly confines, the winds were blowing out to Waveland Avenue. That's behind the left field bleachers inside Wrigley Field. And although the total was up there at 11 and a hook, the game stayed under 4-3. The Cubbies win it, even with an additional inning, as the Cubs walk it off in the home half of the 10th. An infield single, the game-winning RBI off the bat of Nico Horner, as the Cubs take the opener of their midweek set against the Atlanta Braves 4-3.
You take a look at Morton, 5 innings pitched, 2 runs, only 1 earned. That should be good enough for a victory here with 18-mile-an-hour winds blowing out at Wrigley Field. You take a look at Asad on the other side, who's been very good this season overall. 4 2/3 innings pitched. He gave up 3 runs, only 2 earned. But how about this? Dancing around 5 free bases out here with walks. Can't have that happen. He also did give up 2 home runs. But here's the crux of the argument. So many times in the past, we've taken a look at the Atlanta Braves. Who cares who's on the mound? That is an electric lineup that is going to dominate on a night-to-night basis. We told you yesterday, 80-degree temperatures, wind blowing out. This should be a great night for the Braves offense, but you can't say it wasn't, Ben, for the chances. Forget about the hits. Look at runners in scoring position for the Braves yesterday. 0 for 14. You're not going to win any baseball games if you do that. Now, granted, as a handicapper and a gambler, I take a look at myself and say, okay, if I had a team total in that game, the Braves only scored 3 runs. I still figured I did my job handicapping because there were 14 chances with runners on base or at second base or greater with players at the plate. You can't have that here. Sooner or later, you have to convert them. And also, in a game that you lost 4-3, 0 for 14 with runners in scoring position, certainly not good enough. In a game we probably expected runs, but sometimes the pitchers also can factor into that. Decent pitching performances, extra innings with that wind blowing out and only 7 runs in Wrigley, that's a good win for the Cubs.
The Braves, by far, the highest under percentage in Major League Baseball, 65.1%, the only team that is north of 61% in Major League Baseball this year. And Atlanta got started going over in 9 of their first 12 games to begin this MLB campaign. They have now been under in 12 of their previous 14. Javier Assad continues to give the Cubbies quality starts. When they are booked as an underdog with Assad on the bump, it is worth a sprinkle on that money line number for Chicago. The Cubs make good on that. Elsewhere around MLB, late night in Los Angeles, second game of this midweek series between the Dodgers and the D-backs, and Arizona evens it up with a 7-3 victory last night in LA. The Diamondbacks, of course, the underdog against the Dodgers, who have only been booked as a dog twice so far this Major League Baseball season. Arizona wins 7-3.
Yeah, Brandon fought on the mound yesterday, giving you exactly what you want. You're not asking sometimes for dominant starts, Ben, against good teams. Just asking for quality starts to give us a chance. 6 innings pitched, 3 runs, but only 2 of those earned, along with 7 strikeouts. Lowers his ERA now down to 4.05. But let's take a look at that lineup, which is interesting for the Diamondbacks for us. We've talked about this multiple times already. Corbin Carroll, 1 for 5 in that game, still only hitting 191 out of the leadoff position. Sooner or later, you're expecting him to wake up. But the one guy that has been really good in that lineup, look at that third hole batter, and that is Jock Peterson. 321 on the season, 3 RBI last night, which included a home run, 2 of 5 at the plate, really getting the job done. The Diamondbacks still waiting on that magic that we saw last year with that run to the World Series. A few games under 500. As we say, you got to start somewhere. Maybe that's a great start in knocking off the Dodgers, who've now dropped to 33-18 on the season.
And LA made things interesting in the home half of the 6th. RBI single from Shohei Ohtani. He leads all of Major League Baseball with his batting average of .356. Leads all of MLB after going 2 for 4 yesterday with the most hits in the major leagues at 69. And they did make it a close game, 4-3 entering the 7th. Arizona still in front. It was that 3-run shot from Jock Peterson against one of his former teams in the Dodgers that really prevailed for Arizona. Again, a plus 148 moneyline underdog price on the Diamondbacks last night in LA. Total of 8.5 pregame does go over. There is no better team, though, right now in all of Major League Baseball than the Philadelphia Phillies. An MLB best 35th win yesterday. Best record in the bigs. 5-2 the win for the Phils to start off their midweek set at the bank against the Texas Rangers, the reigning World Series champs. And after earning a no decision in his first start of the year, Ranger Suarez has been lights out DRS. A perfect 9-0 record with a 1.36 ERA. That is second best in Major League Baseball. A career high 10 strikeouts yesterday for Suarez as Philadelphia wins 5-2.
Pretty incredible as it's setting up, where you take a look at the top 2 pitchers on the Phillies list coming into the season, the big money guys. Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola signed the long-term extensions, but sometimes it's a matter of who is behind those guys performing like an ace. And if you can get your 3 or 4 starters to do that, you're going to be hell on wheels throughout the summer. That's what Ranger Suarez is doing. And also, we're not talking about, hey, he's having a good start. A historic start here. 9 of his first 10 games wins, 1.36 ERA against the world champion Texas Rangers. And also keep in mind, the Phillies put up 5 runs yesterday and got that victory. John Gray has been tremendous this season. 5 innings pitched, 2 earned runs yesterday with an ERA of around 2. Those are key victories. And I always like to take those victory laps as a Philadelphia Phillies fan. You know, playing teams over 500. You know, it came in 500 yesterday, the Rangers, and lost. You can't play teams over 500 if you're just sweeping every single team you play who's around 500. Make it make sense at this point. The Phillies are really good. Now, the test is going to be when you send a pitcher that might be not so good at the top of the rotation, like Taijuan Walker, into the environment. If you're winning games like that, it's just meant to be at this point. The Phillies 20-8 at home, 35-14 now total. All that momentum stacking up. The Braves not playing that good right now. A 6-game lead in the East. And still, the Philadelphia Phillies, not even favorites in their own division.
No, they are not. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But again, to highlight the historic start for Ranger Suarez, he is the first pitcher in MLB since the mid-1960s to start in his first 10 outings of a year with a perfect 9-0 record and a sub-1.5 ERA. That 1.36 ERA, second best in Major League Baseball, only behind Shota Imanaga. We'll look at the NL Cy Young Award odds in just a moment as well. But the Rangers DRS on the opposite end of the equation from Philadelphia, the reigning World Series champs, with the defeat yesterday in Philadelphia, drop a game under 500, 24-25. And how about this? Our producer, Joe Frieso, is known as the stat man. He displays his research at the highest degree each and every day. His brother Frieso with this stat. This is the first time the Rangers in 2 seasons under Bruce Bochy have been under 500. The entire Frieso family contributing to our research here on the early line.
How about that? There we go. And also, yes, the Philadelphia Phillies putting teams under 500. Sounds familiar throughout this 2024 Major League Baseball season so far. We'll see where they go. And also keep in mind, Citizens Bank Ballpark is a very good hitter's park. We're just starting to get into hitter's weather here. Watch out, man. We're going to hit some lightning bolts down there and cash in some RBI props. Love to see it.
Total of 8 yesterday does stay under, but because of another stellar pitching performance out of Ranger Suarez. But he's not the favorite to win the NL Cy Young Award. It's his teammate, Zach Wheeler, who is even in front of Shota Imanaga at plus 480 for Imanaga. He has the best ERA in Major League Baseball, sub-1 at this moment. And then Chris Sale, who has been great now, is the ace of the staff, presumably for Atlanta, in the absence of Spencer Strider. How do you evaluate these National League Cy Young odds?
Yeah, you're also going to get some of those extracurriculars that we always talk about, right? Give me a team in the playoffs down in the hunt, pitching in big games with big performances. That's probably what you're going to get out of Zach Wheeler at that plus 330 price. Ranger Suarez, and it's funny, like the jury is still out. Like the guy's doing something historic that we haven't seen in 50 to 60 years in Major League Baseball, but the trust level just isn't there yet. The same way why the Atlanta Braves are priced over the Philadelphia Phillies in the East, the trust level for the Philadelphia Phillies all throughout the summer just isn't there yet. But I'll tell you what's kind of funny. You look at the NL Cy Young Awards market. It's Wheeler, it's Imanaga, and it's Suarez up top. Makes some sense. They're National League pitchers. I look at Glasnow, Sale, and Cease right behind him like, oh, did I combine somehow the American League and the National League? It just looks odd to have those 3 pitchers in the National League. But 2 of the top 3 right now in the odds race, Philadelphia Phillies. That tells you how good a season we're actually having.
And one final point on those fights, trying to win their division. Up next on the early line.
A surprise winner on the PGA Tour. Taylor Pendrith ends up winning his first PGA Tour win.
He was pretty darn lucky to win. Ben Coles should have won that tournament. Also seeking his first PGA Tour victory, he went into the 18th hole, the easiest hole on the golf course, with a 1-shot lead, and he was there in 2, just less than 30 feet from the cup.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
Do Leafs fans stop watching hockey now, or do they root for other Canadian teams, Cam?
No, I'm not a proponent of that, and it's actually kind of bothered me that, like, all the people in Toronto are kind of like, oh, now I'm going to cheer for the Oilers. Like, why? What was your affiliation with the Oilers? Like, Canucks still exist. Like, I don't lose automatically and say, yeah, you know, I'm going to cheer for the Ottawa Senators because they're Canadian. No, I cheer for my bets.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
A lot of books, and outside of the New York area, the Canes are actually favored in Game 1 of this series. I'm seeing it right now. I'm looking. I see a minus 115 Canes, Rangers minus 105.
I like the 6 and 7 games prop, like I took with Boston, Toronto, which we now know is going to cash. I think it's got a chance to go the distance. It's going to be a long, tough, close series.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Cam Rising stuff last year with Utah, 3 months of pretending he was questionable with a torn ACL, ridiculous.
It's a lot of gray right now when it comes to this stuff, and we really are. When people say we're in like the 2nd or 3rd inning of sports betting, that's why I agree, because there's so many of those situations that are very, very difficult to explain to a novice.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
A walk-off yesterday in Houston will continue to go around the daily Diamond Dash in Major League Baseball. But you have heard Donnie and I both mention how the Phils right now have a 6-game advantage for the top spot in the National League East over the Atlanta Braves. We've referenced this point a few times, Donnie, in the last 7 to 8 days. The Braves struggling as of late. They've dropped 5 of their last 6. Philadelphia, the best team in MLB, 35-14, the only team with a win percentage at .700 or better at this moment. And still the Atlanta Braves have remained an odds-on favorite. But that market is starting to move. The Braves still an odds-on favorite, -130, the price as of this Wednesday morning. But I finally got in. I think it's a good bet. The Phils even money +100 to win the National League East with a 6-game advantage the week before Memorial Day. Now, there's a long summer ahead in Major League Baseball. We still have more than 100 games left in this Major League Baseball season. And if I lose, I lose. But I think it's a good number based on what I have seen out of Philadelphia, despite Atlanta winning this division 6 consecutive seasons. And I hear what you say. The market is not fully trusting in the Phillies at this moment. Let's not forget the Phils have played in the National League Championship Series each of the past 2 years. Sure, they haven't been great in the regular season for the entirety of 162 the past 2 seasons, but they're still a highly talented baseball team that is playing like the best in the bigs. And Trey Turner's not even there at the moment. Give me Philadelphia to win the National League East.
Hey, it makes sense right now. It does, because you're also trying to look at what's going to take place in the future. And this would maybe be different. It's like, okay, Strider got injured a little bit earlier. He should be back around June to sort of give you that second half kick where every 5th day you might have the best pitcher in baseball going for you. They don't have that. But it seems like every 5th day for the Phillies, a new dominant starter is on the mound. And that's how you win baseball games, particularly in the regular season. Now, granted, yes, you need dominant starters in playoff time, but how many times do we see those dominant starters go 5 innings, they're tired because they threw 200-plus innings on the season? Now's the time where, on a day-to-day basis, if you're constantly running out a better pitching staff than the other team you're playing, you're going to win most of your games. And that's the way I look at it. Now, I do understand Atlanta started off red hot on offense, Ben, to start the season. They've gone a little dormant. You're going to get that hitting weather down in the Big A this summer. Matt Olson will come around. Ronald Acuna Jr. is going to come around. I get that. But nobody's going to come in and rescue that starting pitching staff because also, let's be honest, Chris Sale looks like he's reverted back to his Cy Young award-winning ways, like back with like the early days of the Boston Red Sox and the Chicago White Sox, damn near unhittable. What happens if he turns back into the average pitcher we saw basically over the past 2 years? That could be devastating. The Braves are a great organization. I think the best front office in baseball. They will make moves, but you're not making moves enough to bring in a guy like Spencer Strider to sort of carry you into the playoffs here. I think the Phillies are the team to beat right now, and I do think it's mispriced right now in the odds market.
And it's a 6-game deficit the Braves have to make their way out of. Could they? Sure. Is it still a gap behind? Absolutely so. Now we go around the rest of MLB. The Astros have not had an easy test this week against the Angels to continue their winning ways. They dropped the opener after allowing 3 home runs in the 5th on Monday evening in Houston. Yesterday, it took extras. Kyle Tucker with his 2nd home run of the game, his MLB leading 17th of this season, forces extra innings, and then Jeremy Pena, a walk-off RBI single for Houston. The Astros win 6-5. They were booked as nearly a $2 favorite. They do win outright. A total of 9 does go over in H-Town.
Tucker's been crazy. Pena, the young shortstop here, he's been phenomenal on the season. 328 now after going 2 for 5. In this game, I did have 2 RBI shots that I played. It was Rengifo and it was Calhoun. And also it was Dinger Tuesday here on the FanDuel Sportsbook. I had the choice of Willie Calhoun and Rengifo. I went with Willie Calhoun, who didn't get an RBI yesterday or a home run. And you saw Rengifo 3 RBIs, which included a home run. But also, we talk about handicapping and how you let it play out. A bad handicap would be the cleanup hitter going 0 for 5. But when the cleanup hitter in a game where I expect to get a lot of runs got 2 base hits, you expect maybe a home run out of those 2 base hits, but certainly an RBI chance or an opportunity there, which they didn't get because why? Rengifo was cleaning up everything out there, so no RBIs actually got to Willie Calhoun. So still a decent night overall, but a good win for the Astros, and I keep getting back to this point. We don't have a team like the Phillies, who are the lead dogs out in the AL West, running away with the division, which would be like 10 or 12 games above the Houston Astros. It's tightly packed here. They're starting to play better baseball. There's a pedigree in Houston where they expect to be in the playoffs. I know they're 22-27, but it just feels like we want to kick them out of the playoffs already until you look at the standings and realize we're not even in the June yet.
The Astros 5 games below 500, but still, there's only one team in the American League West right now. It's the Seattle Mariners that is above 500, with the Rangers dropping below that mark, and Seattle a 6-3 victory yesterday in the Bronx. The Yanks entered this week winners of 7 in a row, now on a 2-game skid against the Mariners. That 6-3 victory for the M's yesterday.
Yeah, no, it's pretty impressive that you're taking a look at Seattle going into New York. And I believe, was it 3 straight games? I think they've now beaten the New York Yankees at this point. Pretty impressive stuff overall, because if you're winning games against good teams in their own ballparks, that's going to help you late in the season, no doubt.
The Mariners, the only team in the American League West, 5 games above 500 at 27-22, the favorites to win the division. How about those Kansas City Royals, DRS? They played 10 yesterday at home inside Kauffman against the Detroit Tigers. 6 RBIs for the $280 million man, Bobby Witt Jr. 3 for 4 at the dish, 2 home runs yesterday, scored 3 runs, 6 ribbies. KC has won 31 games this year. They're 20-8 inside Kauffman with a 10-3 victory yesterday over Detroit.
Love to see it. And there's a lot of guys I like on that team on a night-to-night basis against decent pitching matchups for them to get RBI. Take a look at Garcia in the leadoff hole yesterday. 4 of 5, now hitting .263. Picked up an RBI. Bobby Witt Jr., 6 RBI. Now, our guy Vinny P went 1 for 5 with no RBI, but Salvador Perez, another RBI. Michael Massey, I've been talking about him quite a bit. 1 RBI in that game. This is a good, young, fun team to watch. And as I keep saying here, the later we get into the season, we're not into June yet, but the Kansas City Royals continue to stay well above 500. That breeds confidence in that locker room, and more importantly, lets that front office know, get us a couple pieces here. We might be able to make a run at this playoff race.
Kansas City has won 5 straight, but so has Cleveland, so the Guardians maintain a 1.5 lead over the Royals in the American League Central. Divisional duel in Tampa. The Red Sox have won both of the first 2 games this week in the Trop. 5-2 the victory for the Sox. Rafael Devers, though, his 6-game streak of hitting at least a home run does come to a close. Donnie, fashion, National Football League, next.
A surprise winner on the PGA Tour. Taylor Hendrick ends up winning his first PGA Tour win.
He was pretty darn lucky to win. Ben Coles should have won that tournament. Also seeking his first PGA Tour victory, he went into the 18th hole, the easiest hole on the golf course, with a 1-shot lead, and he was there in 2, just less than 30 feet from the cup.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
Do Leafs fans stop watching hockey now, or do they root for other Canadian teams, Cam?
No, I'm not a proponent of that, and it's actually kind of bothered me that, like, all the people in Toronto are kind of like, oh, now I'm going to cheer for the Oilers. Like, why? What was your affiliation with the Oilers? Like, Canucks still exist. Like, I don't lose automatically and say, yeah, I'm going to cheer for the Ottawa Senators because they're Canadian. No, I cheer for my bats.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
A lot of books, and outside of the New York area, the Canes are actually favored in Game 1 of this series. I'm seeing it right now. I'm looking. I see a -115 Canes, Rangers -105.
I like the 6 and 7 games prop, like I took with Boston, Toronto, which we now know is going to cash. I think it's got a chance to go the distance. It's going to be a long, tough, close series.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Cam Rising stuff last year with Utah, 3 months of pretending he was questionable with a torn ACL, ridiculous.
It's a lot of gray right now when it comes to this stuff, and we really are. When people say we're in like the 2nd or 3rd inning of sports betting, that's why I agree, because there's so many of those situations that are very, very difficult to explain to a novice.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
You thought we had some award-winning segments yesterday in our third and final hour. Just you wait until this final segment of our opening hour on this Wednesday. Now, you've heard Donnie Rightside be critical of some jersey reveals for a new 2024 NFL season in the last little bit. Late last week, the Giants unveiled their Century Red to commemorate their 100th NFL season as a franchise, and they were pitiful. But we didn't really have the graphic to kind of back up that image in Donnie's mind. Here it is with some fancy new graphics here on the early line. There is the Century Red, DRS. Take us through your initial thoughts.
The initial thoughts are horrendous at this point. I thought it was an actual error. And again, sometimes I blame this on like Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now, because it used to be in the past we could trust the information coming through from the checkmark accounts. Now you can buy your own checkmark. So I thought people last week were having a little bit of fun here because nobody in their right mind would ever say to themselves, let me just show you a picture, right? If I gave you a picture of the Chicago Bulls jersey, you'd be like, hey, you know what? Looks cool. I know exactly who that is. It's the Chicago Bulls. If I gave you a picture of the Lakers jersey, like, yeah, that's the Lakers here. Certainly makes some sense. Anybody that just said, you know what, we're going to take the logos in the background away, guess which team in the NFL is going to have this as a throwback uniform? Nobody would have said the New York Giants here. And also, I like to take a look at this. Look, you guys out there know, I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Anytime I get a chance to pound on little brother New York, where the Philadelphia Eagles dominate them for the past 20 to 25 years, I love to do this here. Love the fact they signed Daniel Jones. It means they're going to stink for the next couple of years. They stunk last year. They'll stink again this year. But the fact of the matter is, when you're trying to give your fan base something to look forward to, when your team is going to stink out loud this year, give them something they want. The reason I bring up this rant is, if you would have told me right now, the Giants, 100-year throwback is going to be from 1986 with a Lawrence Taylor patch, the fan base would have said, give us 0-17. I'm buying that jersey. I'm absolutely going to love this jersey. I'll wear it all the way through the season. The fact that they came up with the Montreal Canadiens jersey and told Giants fans this is a celebration of our 100 years, asinine. And if anybody who made this jersey, who's getting widely panned now, is not fired inside that Giants building, I don't know what we're actually doing here. Because who thought this was a good idea? And the minute it was released into the streets, people got angry. Now, hear me out on this, Ben. Talked about it yesterday during the show.
Done. All right.
No, we're not done on this. Put that graphic back up because I can't get enough of this actual
we worked all
uniform
morning
that we
to
have.
get this thing ready. Let's keep it on the screen, huh? Here we go.
Exactly. I'm a wide receiver, and I say this with a lot of pride. Back in high school, spandex was really big in the mid-'90s. I even wore multiple games, Ben, one silver leg and one blue leg. I was big on absolute color coordination and swagging everything out. I went to college. Our pants were orange. I wore orange spandex here, so I was always in tune with what was supposed to look good here and what I should be wearing. Malik Neighbors, a wide receiver. We got a kinship here. Right. Two dominant wide receivers just talking back and forth here. Yeah. He basically went the air and said, I can't even swag this out. This uniform has no drip just to be nice. And he's right. The Giants, put it this way, the Giants uniforms are going to be worse than the Giants next year. That's hard to do, Ben. That's real hard to do.
6.5 is the win total for the G-Men, and the under has the heavy juice. And yet Century Red is going to be the story.
That's a 4.5 jersey. Yeah, that's a Century L.
3.5 jersey.
Century L. Yeah.
Oh, I like it. Donnie, that was a great rant for about 4 minutes, strictly on the Giants uniform. You and Malik Neighbors, a kinship there.
By the way,
I love Malik Neighbors, drafted 6th overall by the Giants, DRS. I don't think he said one good thing about this New York organization. Called Daniel Jones Daniel Dones. I mean, I just love the guy and what he brings to New York at this moment.
And by the way, we had to show up a little bit earlier to the set this morning, so you think I would have extra time to prepare. The fact that this segment came up and I didn't know what the segment was until we went to commercial break and came with that fire, that's how you know I'm on my game today. What else do we got? Where else are we going? Come on. We got more.
DRS, we got 3 more teams to run through here. We're going to have to start off hour 2 with it. But next we get to the Motor City Knights, the alternate jersey in all black for the Detroit Lions. But the weird Honolulu blue helmet, Donnie, your thoughts?
Yeah, you know what? The helmet's throwing me off a little bit here at this point. But I got to say, and the best part about this is the Giants jersey is so bad that I can't imagine any of these jerseys actually disappointing me because the bar was set so damn low. But I look at these uniforms, I'm feeling them a little bit. And by the way, My high school was blue and silver. So the uniforms that we wore on throwbacks for the NFL on Thanksgiving Day for Detroit, they were my high school uniforms. So I sort of respect that here. So I can't go too low, but I'm sort of feeling this uniform here for Detroit. I'm not going to lie.
It's like, is the helmet working for you? Is it not? More fashion advice with Mr. Right Side when Howard 2 starts up next.